In this tutorial I'm going to show you how you can swap out textures at runtime. This is useful if you want to switch a character's weapon or the clothing, things like that. So what we're going to do is reuse the chef animation, and we'll just create some scripts to drive him. So let's go ahead and create a new smooth moves bone animation in our scene. Let's name this chef, and let's attach the chef animation. Make sure our control panel is open. Let's go ahead and play so that it will generate the chef. And now we can move our camera backwards. Okay, so now our chef is set up. Set up a script. Let's call it chef 3 so we don't interfere with our others. Let's open that up. Let's go ahead and add a reference to unit or smooth moves. And let's add a public reference to our bone animation. And on the update we'll be looking for input. When we click certain keys it'll switch out the weapon texture. Say for K it'll switch to the knife. We're going to use swap texture. There are variations of this function. There's swap texture, which swaps the texture across all bones, all animation clips, or you can just swap on a certain bone or just a certain animation clip. But generally for something like this where we're switching out a weapon, we'll want it to show up in all animations. So we're just going to call swap texture, which is the most generic of all the calls. You can see a full list of these calls in the API documentation online at echo17.com on the Smooth Moves page. So first parameter that we have to supply is a search atlas name. This will be the atlas that is in existence in the animation data. So I believe the atlas is called weapons, and now the texture name that we're searching for is the texture that's actually showing up in the animation data that you create at design time, and that is, let's check it out here. Going to be looking in atlas based textures, the weapons. So you got a rolling pin. That's what it's set in the animation data. We're going to select that first. And then we're going to switch it to a new atlas, but in this case we're using the same atlas. So we'll put weapons again, and then the new texture, which in this case is going to be the knife. Now we can switch to a totally separate atlas, but in this case I'm just switching the weapons within the same one. So that's why I provide the same atlas name, the to and the from and the to. So let's switch the texture to knife, and let's go ahead and give that a try. So we go back to Unity, go back to chef. Let's attach this chef 3 script. I'll make sure to add the bone animation reference. Let's hit play. So now the chef's animating. When I hit the K key, his weapon texture switches to the knife. Now let's say I wanted to switch it to something else. Say the cleaver, so C key. Do the same thing. And in this case we're going to always reference the rolling pin because that's what's in the animation data. So it doesn't matter what your texture is currently set to based on your swaps. You always want to reference the original texture. And let's go ahead and put one more in. R for rolling pin. Actually, we don't want to swap, we'll just restore because rolling pin is the original one, so we don't need to swap. We can just do restore textures. Let's let it compile and then run. So the chef animates. We can hit the K key, it switches to a knife, C key switches to a cleaver, and the rolling pin just restores back to the original. And you can do that in any order, and it'll switch immediately. And that's how you swap textures.